everybody. Welcome. We're just going to give everyone a few minutes to hop on before we get started. Um, if you will, feel free to sign your attendance on the doc that I just put in the chat, and we'll get started in a moment. All right. It looks like it's slowed down a little bit. There were so many people signing on a moment ago. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started for the sake of time. Welcome, everybody. Super excited to see you. Thanks to all of you that were able to pop into our breakout session at Fall Conference. That was a lot of fun. The space was not ideal. I will give you that. But couldn't ask for better company. We had a lot of fun. So thank you for those of you guys that were able to be there. And thank you to the awesome UPCA Executive Committee for putting that breakout on. And if you weren't able to be there, hey, hopefully we'll catch you next time. Or at the Winter Summit, hopefully everyone saw the save the date with the information that we sent out yesterday. Looks like it's going to be really fun, especially with the Back to the Future theme. Hello, nostalgia. It's going to be amazing. So hopefully you guys can all come and bring your key leaders and your coalition members. And the planning committee for that event created some really fun awards to be given out during the Winter Summit. So please think about your coalition members and your key leaders that you're going to be inviting and nominate them for an award. How cool would that be to be nominated and given an award at a cool prevention conference? Like, that's definitely going to increase buy-in for your coalition. So if you need any more information on that conference, feel free to reach out to the awesome folks at Weber County, specifically David Sekulich. And if you need that information, we're happy to send that out. Thank you to all of you that have taken the opportunity to vote in our policy chair election. We've had over 100 people vote, and it's going to be a very close race. We have some amazing candidates. So if you haven't had the opportunity to vote yet, let me put that link in the chat. We'd really like to make that announcement this week. So yeah, if you haven't had an opportunity to vote, please do. I'm going to put that link in the chat right now. And good luck choosing, because all the candidates are real prevention rock stars. So I don't envy you guys for having to make that decision. And thank you to the candidates that were gracious enough to accept the nominations and willing to serve on the UPCA Executive Committee. That's awesome. And if you are interested in joining the UPCA Executive Committee, feel free to reach out to us. We would love to have representation from throughout the state, and we always seems to have somebody that's leaving or positions open. So please feel free to reach out to any of us that are on the UPCA Executive Committee. And if you don't know who that is, visit our utahprevention.org website, and we've got all of our exec folks listed on there, I think. So please feel free to reach out. And speaking of policy, I did want to put a plug in that the legislative session is rapidly approaching, and Susanna and our new policy chair, whoever that may be, and our exec committee would really like to start working on creating tools and resources for you and your coalitions for the upcoming session. So if anyone hears anything coming down the pipeline, like, oh, I hear there's going to be a bill about this, like, feel free to give us a heads up. We're trying to gather as much information as possible from the folks that really work in policy. But if you happen to hear anything, please feel free to reach out and give us a heads up so that we can kind of get upstream of these bills and get as many resources and tools together as we can for you before the actual legislative session. And so if there's anything we can do to help you, please let us know. Thank you again for logging onto our webinar today, tuning in. I'm really excited to introduce our guest speakers. Chad Wilkins is the program director for let me make sure I'm getting this correct, the Utah DDRO program, and he's going to tell you a little bit more about that. He has a lot of acronyms, as we do in prevention. And so I'm happy to turn the time over to Chad and to Hayden with the Utah DDRO program.
All right. Guess we could say good afternoon because it's 5 minutes past noon. But yeah, we should also have Connor getting in here as well. But anyways, as Heidi said, I'm the program manager for the Utah DDRO program, which is the Drug Demand Reduction and Outreach Program. I'm just working on getting my slides up here.
Oh, Connor, I'm so sorry. I forgot to introduce Connor as well. It wasn't a purposeful slight, Connor. Feel free to kick me the next time you see me. Chad, Connor, and Hayden. Sorry.
All right, can everybody see my slides?
I can see.
Thank you, Hayden. And he's on top of it. He's keeping me honest. All right. So as I mentioned, Chad Wilkins, program manager. Heidi mentioned that we're here to kind of give you guys a program overview of what we provide to the state and what we do in terms of programming. And so one thing I really wanted to kind of start off with, don't worry about that classification. It's not something that we have to do inside the military. We have to classify everything we do. And when I say that, I mean we just have to mark at what level of information that is. So this is controlled. It's something that we give out to people. Don't worry about that. It's not anything super scary. Next thing is actually getting into what program we are. There's two main purposes of DDRO, and it's demand reduction, which I'll get into a little bit, but to shorten it up, is we go into communities, we work together with them, their law enforcement, schools, health departments, and bring them all together so they're working towards the same, you know, drug reduction goal. And then the other part of it is outreach, which is why we have such the long name and we'd like to shorten it down to that acronym. So, I can get the slides working. There we go. Awesome. So over the next few minutes, I'll give you guys kind of like an overview of how we're broken up across the state, the roles and support of the organization as a whole, the responsibilities of what each of our soldiers and airmen will fulfill when supporting you, the capabilities of our program. I'll get into one of our direct programs, kind of highlight that for you guys, do some more operational highlights, how you can request us to come support you, and then kind of what to expect in the coming months and years as we go. And then we'll try to save questions towards the end. But if you have any burning questions that you have to ask right there in the moment, feel free to raise your hand. I'll try to keep an eye out on the chat function to make sure that I'm not missing any hands being raised. All right. So what is DDRO? Huge slide, lot to get into, but basically, our role is to assist you guys in planning and conducting prevention all throughout your regions, all throughout your counties and local levels, in support of the national and state prioritized reduction priorities throughout these different sectors. And so the way we've been kind of organized is that we're kind of organized for in line with what's commonly referred to as a combined special operations task force. Basically means we don't have a lot of people working for us, but we come out and we work with partners in order to bolster their effectiveness, make them doing better, and we bring them resources that they wouldn't normally have access to. And so our structure, whoa, that's not what I wanted. Sorry, you guys got a little bit of freebie there. Anyways, so our structure is kind of meant to maximize that, and we do that along three main operational levels. We have our local level, which is, like I said, we work with health departments, law enforcement, community-based organizations, volunteer groups, schools, you name it. It's basically where we do most of our work, and that's where we're working with you guys here at the coalition level. And again, so that's where we're doing our direct programming, our event support, our logistical support, administrative work, all that fun stuff is where that local operations sit. At the statewide level is where we're really working with, Utah State University to help bring in additional types of resources like parenting programs. We work with the University of Utah's PARCA to get some more research capabilities going on so that way we can do more evaluations. And then we're working with the opioid task force and the new fentanyl task force now to really be more of that advocate for you guys at that local level, because a lot of your organizations are based off of volunteer work, and so not everyone can take those times off to go meet at that state level. And with us, we're able to be that unbiased partner that advocates for the local work, so that way not everything's getting bogged down by state bureaucracy. And then at the national level, we work with the DEA. Huge things that are happening in Utah, so we're actually working with them to build up their diversion, which is just another word to them for outreach and prevention. And DEA is going to start having their prevention arm really here in Utah as well. That's going to help out with Red Ribbon Weeks and National Take Back Days. We're working with high intensity drug trafficking areas, overdose response strategy team to really advocate for that harm reduction and that local level in that area as well. We're working with the PTTC and working with them to create more SAPS trainings and other prevention science trainings here in the state. And then we're working with the National Guard Bureau to advocate for the work here in Utah so that way we as the National Guard can get more funding so we can provide more resources, more soldiers and airmen to you at that local level. And so that's kind of how we're broken up apart in that structure when you look at that. Um, because of our limited size, we have kind of broken apart the state into three operational sectors. If you look at that, you'll see that we align ourselves along the same line as your local substance abuse authorities, as per the Department of Health and Human Services. But again, we have it further broken down into operational sectors. So up north, we have Connor Savage. And so he's helping out, Davis, Weber, everyone north, as well as Tooele a little bit. Myself, I'm serving as the operator out for the Wasatch Front. So Salt Lake, Utah counties all the way east. And then we have Hayden Wright down south. And so that covers the rest of the state. We do bounce around and help out each other as best we can based on the needs and the nature of the support we're providing. But we'll get into that here in a little bit. So what does it actually look like to you? So that's how we're broken apart and internally, but how does it actually look to you at that local level? And so basically, like I said, help planning and conducting prevention and outreach across the state in line with our national and state priorities. We act as that free resource for you guys. So you don't pay us anything. We come out, we give you these trainings, we give you these outreach programming so that way it saves you money so that you can push that funding towards other measures and kind of stretch that dollar a little bit more. We act as an intermediary, like I said, with the opioid task force, fentanyl task force. We're kind of your guys' voice for the local level because we notice that there's not a whole lot of local level representation at these state level functions. And so that's where we really come in and try to be that voice for you. We come in and we assess your guys' organizations and provide support unique to what you're going through. So some people need, help with the assessment portion of the SPIF, or they might need help actually conducting missions or outreach stuff. And I will say, forgive me for the Army lingo. I just got out of a bunch of training last week, so I'm still kind of Army mentality with my words. But anyways, but we come in there and we help you guys out with wherever you need in terms of what support you absolutely need at that time, and we help you with that. We're really strong in the strategic prevention framework, and so any one of those different portions of it, we can come in and help you out with that. And then recently, we're really trying to grow our direct prevention programming, which is where we see a lot of those increased impact of support. So if you look over to the other side of the screen, you see that pyramid, that basis assessment, that's where we're going through and we see where we can help out with your guys' coalitions, help you out with your different organizations and your efforts. So that's an easy, we can help support that way. The coaching and facilitation and training, that's really high impact, but because of our low numbers, we don't have a lot of opportunities, but we're currently working on building that up so that way we can do more things with our youth, more things with you guys in terms of direct training and making you guys better at prevention. So personnel responsibilities. As I mentioned before, you're going to interact with one of three people. You might interact with more. And this slide is a lot of words basically describing what, depending on how that person introduces themselves to you, it kind of highlights what you can expect them to do. And so we have our DDRO specialists that you'll see them come out to events. They're the ones that are really helping just do the work. They're really good at kind of like military unique skills of like analysis, writing, planning. They haven't necessarily gotten the full grasp of prevention science, but they're able to help with these very niche topics that, again, you guys and your volunteers may not be the most proficient at. And so we're able to really help out with that. DDRO operators are who you're going to interact with most during your day-to-day interactions with the counter-drug program. We're the ones that come to your guys' meetings. We're the ones that are helping organize events, put out trainings, helping out with bringing in law enforcement and facilitate data sharing between you guys and them. And so they're kind of your catch-all person, and you're going to interact with them most. Then there's program manager, which I'm currently filling, and they're the ones that are typically the ones advocating for you at the local level and those statewide functions. And then also, if you guys have any trainings that your operator doesn't have, or it's like, hey, we need help, one of the ones that we've heard a lot is, compliance checks and training our law enforcement in that. And so reaching out to whoever may be the program manager at the time would be able to say, hey, we need, our southern or northern operator to be trained on compliance checks. And then that person can then go to our partners and start trying to get that training set up so that way they can come back and teach it free. A lot of Again, a lot of information on that slide. Hopefully, I kept it short for that one because it's just a lot. And these slides will be sent out to everybody after for you guys to reference, so no worries. But now we'll get into the stuff that I know a lot of people, when they saw the invitation, is what they tuned in for. So we're going to get into the good stuff now. So these is kind of a brief list of our capabilities. We're able to bring out different helicopter airframes to outreach events. We're able to facilitate getting you guys sharp drop boxes for each one. We have night vision, other equipment that we can bring out, again, for the direct programming. We support national take back days, primarily the ones that DEA really pushes in April and October. We help support Red Ribbon Weeks. And then we're also working with USU to do kind of a youth resiliency and safe risk taking, which we'll get into a little bit here in the next slide. And then we have a huge list of trainings. So we're not only just direct programming and outreach. We also come and help you guys with that professional development, like I mentioned earlier. SAPS courses. We can help do community readiness assessments, analytic basics, grant writing, all that fun stuff. We can come help you guys out and teach your volunteers how to do these things a little bit better, so that way they have that background. And then kind of like our trial phase, or more of like we're growing it, making it to where it's a larger part of what we do, is our adventurous learning model, primarily the SPEAR program and the USU Real camp, which again we'll be getting into here shortly. So what is SPEAR and what is Real? Right? Because a lot of people, as soon as I mention night vision and some of these direct programmings, everybody's ears perk up. So we decided to make this an entire slide for you guys. SPEAR is basically substance prevention, education, and resiliency. It's meant to provide our youth and their families with practical exercises that maintain their attention, maintain their curiosity, and also at the same time teach them very valuable life skills and lessons that they can take later on in life that help them, not turn to drugs during stressful situations. And so the SPEAR program is our mobile version of it. So it's meant to go all across the state. We can take small chunks of it and do it at a night out against crime, a community connection event. We can do it. Again, it's meant to go all over the place. And it's really unique to what your guys' event is meant to do and meant to tie into the messaging. And so we're not just bringing out whatever one we have. We work with you when you make that request of like, okay, what is your goal for this event, and which one of the SPEAR activities can we bring out and actually have it tie in the best. And so some of those, again, our night vision course, which is where we have kids go into a whole blacked out room underneath a set of our own night vision, and they go through a little obstacle course. And while they're doing that, we're talking to them and their families about what that symbolizes and what it means in order to equip their kids with the proper knowledge to avoid substance use later on in life. We have a medical class where we teach them, like, if they come up on an accident, they know how to take care of people. They know how to, administer naloxone in case if it gets to that bad of a case. And so that's kind of where that medical class is in. It's just basic first aid, so that way they can be more value to their communities, and they feel like they have a sense of purpose and that they can help, and they're not feeling, helpless and at the mercy of whatever may be happening. We have an orienteering class, which is where we, basically help them do land navigation. They're going out and trying to find points at a park, and it's meant to kind of teach them how to properly plan out their life and not try to take shortcuts, or else they might get lost. Wilderness survival, again, is meant to kind of empower them as they grow older. That one we really try to work with the parents as well, so that way again it helps them build that trust in their parents that their parents are capable of helping them through stressful situations. And then we have a kind of a miniature fitness test or relay where we have groups of kids and they have to work together to overcome these physical challenges within a certain time limit. And that helps them learn that they can rely on their friends and their peers during these stressful times rather than turning to substance use. And so, again, the protective factors we're aiming for is that pro social involvement, recognition, parental bonding, community connectedness. That's really what all of those are going for. And then that SPEAR program is meant to really tie into our yearly event with USU, which is real, which is, I knew I should have wrote this down. It's resiliency education through adventurous learning, I think. Don't quote me on that one. That was my bad for not writing that one down. But anyways, it's much like the spear. The spear activities go to the real event, but that's also it's a full day thing. The kids will get to sit down with USU preventionists, and they will teach them and walk them through much more in depth about these prevention strategies and about these life skills. And then we get to bring out some other unique things that we don't get to always take out. So, like they'll get to use the rappel tower, they'll get to go to an obstacle course. Again, same concepts as the spear program, just with different tools. So the rappel tower is self-confidence that it's okay to be scared as long as you push through. Obstacle course, working with their friends to overcome challenges. Athletic facilities, helping them live healthily. We have a way bigger orienteering course out there, and some more hands-on trainings that we do, like the medical lanes. And that those protective factors are each identified. We work with DHHS and with USU in order to identify which protective factors we're really going to be talking about and working with at each event. And so that one again hits all the three that we had on the spear, but also we may address other ones depending on what DHHS wants us to target. And so some highlights. This one, we did an event in Kearns with our night vision program. You get to, again, it's really fun to kind of see the kids wander around the dark because it's their first interaction with it. And yeah, we throw on like some kit that we normally take out and explain what everything symbolizes to the parents, and the kids get to have a fun activity where they're wandering around the dark and experiencing something new. Our USU, this is the real event. And as you can see, like we have people going on the rappel towers. They're having those positive interactions with both law enforcement and military as we're teaching about safety, how to be safe, how to rely on their friends. Uh, Towards the bottom picture there, you can see that that's where they're working with the USU instructors, and going more in depth about these factors. We bring out helicopters, our DPS agents to help them and really build that interconnectedness and that positive mentorship role with these figures within the community for these kids. So I know you may be asking yourself, how do we get this, right? Well, courtesy of Connor Savage, he made this beautiful slide of how to get support. Basically, you're going to send an email to our very spam looking email, basically with the 5 W's: who, what, where, when, and why. The why definitely needs to have how us coming helps support a anti-drug nexus, as we call it. So basically, what anti-drug messaging or work are you trying to accomplish at this event, and how does us coming out to it make that better? And that just is more for an advocacy thing for when we take it up to our leadership, makes it easy for us to get the assets and equipment that we need. Once we get that, we start the process and we start filling out forms, and we send you a couple of those forms based on what you're asking for. And we try to make it super easy. We highlight the sections that you need to fill out as our partner, and then everything else is handled by us. Now, depending on what you ask for, depends on when you're going to get an answer or when we need to hear from you about when you want those activities. Typically, a 1 week lead time is acceptable for most of the equipment. Helicopters, we try to get out at least a month before that 30 days, just because, again, it's not just our people. We're also having to request pilots for that. And then we also ask that you give us a deadline so that way we can push our leadership to give us an answer back, because we have had incidents where they wait till the day before and we don't know what's going on. So typically, if you don't tell us we need to have an answer by this date, we usually put it a week out. And so if you don't ask for a specific time, expect a yes or no at least 1 week before the event. Anything under like 3 to 4 days, you might not get what exactly you asked for because we do have to request some equipment and other things, but we'll work on fixing that this next year. So that's kind of the general gist of it. Most work you have to do is, doing that 5 Ws and then signing a couple blocks in the forms that we send you. You know, don't get intimidated by it. We try to make it super easy for you. And if you have any questions, we help you out through the entire process. All right, home stretch here. I've been talking really fast, so I'm expecting a lot of questions. But what can you expect to see from the National Guard here in the next, couple of years? Basically, we're shifting to a point where we're bringing more assets and equipment in internally. So you'll start to see where we start approving more requests. It's not going to be as much of a competition as it was last year of getting us to come out, but it allows us to uh, support a lot more missions and pivot and again just support you better than how we have the past few years. Um, in the next year or so, you're going to start seeing our guys becoming certified in those advanced courses beyond SAPs, so that way we can actually give you these national recognized certificates as well. We're going to start again over this next year. We're going to start scaling up that spear and reel, so that way you guys see more of those instances coming out. And then in 3 years, all of our guys should be certified as Utah prevention specialists. So that way you have that extra little when you're requesting training that you're getting trained by a state recognized one rather than just a National Guard recognized person. Just kind of help you guys out when you're asking for like grant funding that you can say that you've been receiving training or these support by extra certified people. Um, that's basically the gist of that slide. Again, these will come out afterwards, but now I'll open up for questions because I did definitely talk really fast. We had a lot of information to go through, so I wanted to try to get it out with respect to your guys' time and open it up so that way we can have a lot of time for questions. So I'll now open it up to you. I'll try to focus on my chat over here. If if not, my guys can message me on another thing and I can get a hold of those questions. So Lane, do we have flyers and pamphlets? Yeah. So I see you just hopped on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are working on developing those. We're trying to make it to where we can make it both standardized and unique to each of your guys' organizations. So it'll be like a standard flyer, but there'll be certain portions that we can customize specifically to your, organization or to your event. So that way it again ties back into what your guys' messaging and goal is for that event. So yeah, we're currently working on that. We don't have it now, but again, to come around soon.
So that's probably something that you'd recommend that we put in our requests, right? The who, what, why, where, when thing is like what specific resources we might be looking for.
Yeah, yeah. So that's another part. It makes our life super easy, especially if like you add it in that 5 Ws. If you don't add it in there, you'll just expect like a call or an email back asking like, okay, what are you asking for exactly? Whether it be helicopter, night vision, uh, the relay race, the orienteering, whatever it may be. If you include that in your first 5 Ws, it makes our life super easy, so we can get the paperwork going that much faster. But again, we usually follow up to make sure that we can get you what you want.
Then it looks like Tooele had a question about the real program, if they could do a field trip and how many kids you can accommodate in the real.
Yeah, so the real event, it's still relatively new. Um, Last year we supported, I believe, Connor, correct me if I'm wrong. Just kidding, don't do that, make me look good. I think it was like 106 kids we had out at Camp Williams. Um, we are working with USU to make it happen more often than just once a year. But with that being kind of mostly theirs, as far as um, like having it as like a field trip. We'd have to work with USU on that. I can't speak on behalf of them because they also have to accommodate their own programming schedule. But that's definitely something we can look into about it. But right now, it is definitely limited in terms of where we're pulling students from. But with you guys being out in Tooele, we could probably definitely make something work, especially for this next one that's coming up. Hopefully, again in May. Uh, but without USU here, I'm sorry I can't really give you a straightforward answer. But I know that the goal is that's our end goal, is being able to where we can schedule it out for you guys, every couple of months, and we go around each county and pull a bunch of kids up to that 100 kid level and have them go through this entire day. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question, guys. Maggie, on the suicide prevention side, um, unfortunately, due to limitations put on us by Congress, we can't do a whole lot with like direct work with suicide prevention. If you tie it in with your request that, hey, like we're supporting this and it also helps support reducing drug use, then we can do that. But again, it's not a direct support that we provide right away. We have to have that drug tie because that's where our funding comes from. Congress has said that we have to do that. If we step out of those boundaries, it usually ends up really bad for us. We've seen a couple other programs that have uh, on paper overstepped. In actual practice, it's what should be happening when we're helping out with suicide and mental health, and we are advocating for that to where we support those efforts. But at the end of the day, in order to make Congress happy, we do have to have that tied back to reducing substance use in some regard. So it's not out of the question, but again, any request we have has to be tied back to that drug reduction in order for us to support. Um,
Chad, is there ever a cost to any of the collaborations that you do with
No,
coalitions?
so that's the beauty of ours. Since we are funded by Congress, our funding is set aside, so no other National Guard entity across the U.S. can touch counter drug funding. And so everything that we do is absolutely no cost to you. I mean, if you guys want to give us some food when we show up to events, we'll take that, but not required. So yeah, no cost at all to anyone to request these services. We work completely for free for you guys because again, Congress is paying us to do this work. We just happen to be wearing the green suits, but other than that, we're passionate about this work, and there's a lot of times that we actually end up working over our 40 hours a week because we're so passionate. But that's because that it's no cost to you guys, so we can really focus our efforts in supporting you as much as possible. And then you can, like I mentioned, stretch those grant dollars out a little bit more for other programmings because you don't have to worry about paying us. Julie, how are parents included? Are you referring to counter drug as a whole, or are you referring to like the real and the spear programs?
I'm referring to the SPEAR program. Like if you come out and do an event, how do you incorporate the parents into that so they kind of get the same message that their kids are getting so that, they can go home and discuss it if the kids have any additional questions or anything like that. I'm just wondering how you incorporate the parents in that. Sorry.
Yeah, so how we incorporate the parents, it varies on the exact activity that we're doing within the program. Uh, with like the night vision one, we usually try to bring out a couple sets of night vision so that way the parent and their kid are going through at the same time, so the parent can help navigate their kid through the dark. Our people are there underneath night vision just for safety reasons, uh, but most of the guidance and support that the kid is receiving going through the obstacle course under night vision is from their parent. And then while we're doing that, as parents are waiting out in the hallway, we're talking to them about what everything symbolizes and means while they're sitting there with their kids. So they're receiving the same information at the same time. And then they get to practice it and put it in place real time with the night vision when they go through the course. And then as far as like them taking information back, that's kind of much more on like how they go about it. But, you know, and like when we've gone to events, kids are walking away and they're already, buzzing about the experience. And so we're taking that educated guess of that they are taking this home because the kids liked it so much and they're asking their parents questions about it. We're hoping that the parents take what we taught them while sitting at the event and listening to us waiting for their turn and carry that forward. Again, it's really just to kind of build that bond with the parents. And then obviously when we're also advocating that they spend time with their kids, that they're helping them through those stressful times, but they're not taking care of the situation for them. That they're help guiding them and giving them advice, so that way the kid still figures it out on their own. If that makes sense. So,
Yeah.
like with that program, it happens in real time. Same thing. Some of the other courses, we are instituting what we're kind of calling like a squad leader thing, where the kids are receiving information and then we're explaining to the parents what the purpose of it is, and then their parents are there to lead them through the process. So like the orienteering, it'll be like a family-based thing. So the parents will help their kids plan out their routes and where they're going on for this little scavenger hunt and help guide them in the right direction rather than just taking over and going. You know what I mean? So again, really everything is coming back to trying to empower the parents to where their kids look up to them and know that it's okay to ask them for help in those stressful situations or overcome those challenges. But we're also helping those parents understand the purpose behind what they're doing so that way they can better support and guide those kids throughout the program. And
Thank
that's kind
you.
of the goal that we take with each one. Hopefully that answers your question.
It does. Thank you. That's awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Tooele. Parent school related. So the primary demographic, hopefully I can answer this all in one go. As far as like the community health fairs and the parent school nights, that's by request. So you guys through that request process that I outlined, that's how your requests has come out to those. We aren't going to every single one of them because again, we only have so many people and we only have so much time. But if you request us to go out to these, that's when we can prioritize it and make sure that we have it on our calendars to go and send people. As far as the demographic, most of the programs were initially created for like that middle school, high school, or older elementary aged youth. However, as you saw with that current safety fair that we did, we are able to cater it down to that younger elementary age. But at that point, the messaging to the youth is really lost in terms of like the symbology. They usually get hung up on that as a cool new experience and they have no idea what we're talking about. But that's where we really focus on talking with the parents. And that's how we adjust those type of programs for that aged youth is really focusing and making sure the parents know and interact with us and understand the messaging and the concept because the kids are at that age where they don't really necessarily understand all of these concepts. But again, end of the day, it was designed for middle school, high school kids, but we can still cater it down to that younger elementary level. So hopefully that answers your question, guys.
Anyone else have any questions? Feel free to type them in the chat or hop off of mute. Awesome. Well, this was great. I wrote down so much. I had so many ideas and took so many notes, and I hope you guys did too. Chad and Connor and Hayden, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to hop on this webinar. And we're just so excited to put like a name with a face and learn about all the cool things that the Utah National Guard is doing. Like, it's so awesome to find even more partners in prevention. So if there's anything that the UPCA can ever do for you, please let us know.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, uh, with that, we'll definitely be reaching out to you, Heidi, about kind of being that point of contact in case you've heard of any, because we definitely know that, with all the work that our partners are doing, that sometimes they forget about all the resources they have at their disposal. And so we definitely try to come out a lot and talk about what we do. And we definitely try to rely on, these coalition leaders or the LSAA leaders to, remind when they see it's like, oh, hey, that's a good opportunity for them to partner with the Guard and using you guys as that kind of touch point between us and that local level. Because again, you guys are doing so much good work, but since you're doing so much, sometimes it's easy to forget. And so we just want to make sure that We're here to help you guys out. And again, completely free, no worries there. And we'll be sure to keep in contact.
Awesome. Yeah, I can definitely speak to the value of partnering with these awesome folks. We had an operator work with us a few years ago with our coalition, and I remember one time we invited her to our Take Back Day event, and she came and she was in full uniform, and we've never had so much engagement from the public. We had so many people that would come up specifically to talk to her, and then she could tell them about Take Back Day, and it was really cool. You know, people would thank her for her service and to talk to her about their family member that's serving in the military. But it was such a cool way to engage with people that normally would just be like, hi, and walk by. So it was really, really cool. So yeah, I'll send out the contact information for Chad and for Connor and for Hayden and the recording to this and the slides. And if anybody needs any more information, please feel free to reach out. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. And thanks again to our partners at the National Guard. This was great. Hope you guys have a good holiday, and we'll see you in December.
Thank
Thanks.
you guys.
Thanks,
Bye.
Heidi.